In this episode, we'll be looking at infrared photography. This is something I do quite a lot. I'm a big fan of it. Basically, it's when you have your camera converted, they take out the hot mirror, which blocks the IR light. So in a converted camera, that light gets in and you can have a new filter, infrared filter put in. And basically what it means is that you get a different spectrum of light, and it's great. It makes foliage look very white and light, makes skies look very black. This particular shot was taken down at St Benet's Mill, so we'll go have a look there and try and recreate this shot. I use infrared photography almost as much as I use colour photography because I think it's great for the contrast in black and white. We'll head down to Cove Hive, which is one of my favourite locations. Great for infrared. There's an old tree there, which is an old skeletal tree on a beach, which looks great infrared. It's very good for sort of a dramatic and slightly kind of unusual look, and it'll really suit infrared on that occasion. I decided to get my camera converted to IR a couple of years ago after seeing a few shots online. You can get colour IR, which is almost fantasy-like, but with the mono stuff, I really like the really strong contrast you get, and it also means that when the light's not great for colour work, it gives a whole new dimension, and you can stay out there shooting in conditions which you normally wouldn't be able to in colour work. You get a lot more detail in the sky. If it's a blue sky and it seems almost cloudless, when you've got an infrared camera, it really picks up the detail in the clouds, and it can make everything look a lot more dramatic. You can get the same effect by using a filter on your camera. It does extend your exposure time somewhat, so it's a little bit like having a long exposure filter on an ND filter, so you end up with sort of 1 or 2 minute exposures. But it's a very cost-effective way of giving it a try to see if it's for you. There are a couple of things to consider when you shoot in IR. Firstly, always set your white balance on location each time you go out, because it's much more sensitive than shooting in colour, and it's harder to fix afterwards if you don't get that contrast right. So the best bet is to aim it at something green, point your camera at something green, take a shot with as much green in there as possible, and set a custom white balance to that green, and you'll get a nice punchy image. The other thing to consider is it does require a fair bit of processing afterwards. Your raw files will come out very magenta, very red, lacking in contrast, so you do need to put a little bit of extra work into the processing than you would do shooting on a normal body. So we'll head out. We're going to go to Cove Hive and try and get the shot of the skeletal tree, and then we'll head to St Benet's Mill and try and get this shot, which I particularly liked the reeds in the foreground catching the light. Kind of gave a nice interest to the image, and the dike drawing you into the mill. Really works well in IR, because in colour it would have been quite a sort of brown shot in winter, nothing particularly inspiring, whereas in IR it really gives it that extra punch. Well, I've come down to Benacre Broad today, Benacre and Cove Hive, which is one of my favourite spots to do some infrared shots. Hoping to recreate a shot I took a few weeks ago of a really iconic tree that's along this bit of beach, or was along this bit of beach, but one of the downsides of shooting on the east coast, or upsides, is the erosion is quite dramatic at times, and this morning I've discovered that there's been some really dramatic erosion down here. The tree which was there has fallen over and is now just lying on the beach, and as you can see there's trees strewn all along the beach behind us. It looks a bit like a skeleton coast, which is a great opportunity to get some new shots. Got a very empty sky today, so it's a little bit of a challenge for IR, and obviously it's not going to be able to get the shot I was hoping for this morning, so I'll have a wander around and see if I can get something new, but I think this might be one that's chalked off as not the best of mornings so far. There's large sections of the cliff has fallen down along the front there as we're walking up, and the whole scene has completely changed, which is one of the real pluses of somewhere like this. Also, obviously, you're going somewhere unexpected every time. I noticed from the cliff there's a shipwreck has been uncovered, an old wooden boat, which wasn't there last time we came a few weeks ago, so now the tree's gone, I'll wander down there and see if there's anything interesting to shoot down there instead. So we're down here at St Benet's Mill in Norfolk after a failed attempt this morning at Cove Hive over in Suffolk, doing some infrared photography. Conditions are okay. The sun's gone in, which isn't great for infrared, but we get some nice moody shots. I've got the mill in the background here and some foreground reeds. With infrared, it's really basically what it does is you get a slightly different colour spectrum. So green foliage appears very white, blue skies become very black, and it adds a lot of contrast and drama to an image, which is something I really like and do a lot of. I'm using a Canon 5D2 as usual. This is one I've had converted for infrared, which is why it's got a Nikon strap on it, which lots of people are slightly shocked at. I have a Canon with a Nikon strap, but it helps me quickly choose which camera I'm getting out of the bag, whether it's infrared or the normal colour body. I've got a Zeiss 18mm on, which is my standard go-to lens for landscape stuff. And we're getting some sort of moody skies, and what you get with infrared is when the sun comes out, it really lights up all the contrasts much more so that's not really happening at the moment, but that still doesn't matter too much because you can get a really nice monochrome image from it. There's colour infrared and mono infrared, and it all depends what kind of filter you've had put in the camera. I've gone for one which is primarily for black and white work. You can maybe see on the LCD there that you see the infrared effect on the live view, so it's really good. As opposed to a filter which you can screw on the front, you can get the same effect with that, but it does slow down your exposure time, so it's a little bit like having an ND filter on there. You get 2-minute exposures rather than getting a normal standard timed exposure. A converted camera, you can just take a normal shot, but you get to see the infrared effect straight away. I'm using an ND6 grad filter on there. Filters don't work as well with infrared, but they still have an effect, and I'm using just to darken down the sky a little bit and add a bit more mood into the image. Likewise, I've got a circular polarizer on, which does the same kind of effect as it would on a colour body. And one thing to consider if you have a camera converted to infrared is that not all lenses will work as well as they do on a colour body. Some lenses will get what's called hotspots, which is a kind of a brighter area in the centre of the image. You can look up online and see which lenses work with it. My Zeiss I'm using does actually hotspot, but only really when it's going above f9, which kind of suits my style of shooting anyway. I rarely go above that. So when I'm shooting infrared, I'm nearly always on 6.3, something around those kind of apertures, because otherwise I end up with a white flare in the centre. And most of my other lenses don't suffer from it, so it's not something to worry about. But this lens gives a really nice effect in IR, so that's why I don't worry too much about that. In terms of settings, just the standard settings that you'd use if you were filming it, if you were working in colour, apply. So for this I'm using ISO 100, as I say, f6.3, something along those lines, and a shutter speed, I'm on manual, but shutter speed at the moment is coming around about the 40th of a second, something like that. But it's essentially just like shooting colour. And if you use a live view, you get to see what you're getting. And one thing to bear in mind with infrared is the direction of the sun has quite a large effect on what you're getting. So if you're going towards the sun, you might get a very washed out image. With the sun behind you, you get quite a dark, silhouette-y image. With side light, or when the sun comes out, it really lights up the image and you get really strong contrast, which is great. Particularly useful for shooting in woodlands, anywhere where there's lots of foliage. Water is great because that can go very black and inky looking, and as I said, blue skies turn very black, so it's great for adding really punchy kind of monochrome images. Thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to look on the Wex blog for more tips on landscape photography.